Great.
Are you okay to hold that?
Hey, y'all. Welcome back, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? It's kind of an awkward distance. Well, welcome back. Thank you all so much for being here. Big thanks to Chris and the center for hosting us. I don't know if I need it? Yes, I need it. Okay. I'm just going to start talking because we know it's about 6:40 and we want to have plenty of time for some discussion at the end. So like Chris said, my name is Judah Shept. I'm a professor up at EKU of Justice Studies. I write about the sort of political economy of prison and jail growth, particularly in Central Appalachia. And my role here tonight is to use is there feedback? Yeah. It's bad? They're working on it. I'm just gonna talk loudly. I have young kids. I can talk loudly. Actually, they're not that young anymore, but I still.
There's 5 people on the screen and 7 people. They can't hear you if you don't talk into the mic.
Oh, but the mic. Oh, what about now? Better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just stand here sort of like awkwardly and do this. Okay. My role is to sort of use the film as a bit of a point of reference, but also a point of departure for helping us think a little bit more. Are you telling me to talk up? No, a little bit more broadly about what's happening in Central Appalachia with respect to really significant carceral expansion and growth, the significant expansion of prisons and jails in the region. And to do that both so that we have a sense of what's happening, but also to tee up Sylvia, who's going to talk about this campaign that the film mentions at the end, the campaign against FCI Letcher, or Federal Correctional Institution Letcher, a federal prison planned for Letcher County in southeastern Kentucky, slated for a 500 or 600 acre former mountaintop removal site, as many of the prisons are. If FCI Letcher were to be built, it would join this already. This is the site, by the way. This is a former MTR site in Roxana in Letcher County. If it were to be built, it would join this already dense, expansive carceral geography that the film mentions. There are 16 prisons in Central Appalachia. 8 of those are in Eastern Kentucky alone. 8 in Eastern Kentucky. Almost all of those 16 have been built over the last 40 years or so, the period of time we kind of discuss as mass incarceration. Really importantly, that growth has happened at every scale of the state. So what I mean by that is this, like in this map, not even depicted are all of the county jails that exist up and down Eastern Kentucky, Southwestern Virginia, like all over the place, and which at least in Eastern Kentucky are anywhere from 100 to 200% capacity, like full of people and growing, okay? So that's at the local level of the state, right? Then there are state prisons, right? Prisons operated by Virginia, like Wallens Ridge and Red Onion, state prisons in Eastern Kentucky. Kentucky in particular is a particularly sort of like rapidly growing carceral state. We tend to lock up more people even than the national average. That's happened in Kentucky even as we pass sentencing reform. We've actually built out the rate of incarceration, and the sheer volume of people going into prison has actually increased since we passed sentencing reform. And the capacity for that, the prison growth that's happened to accommodate that, has happened exclusively in Eastern Kentucky. So that's state prison level. And then there's federal prisons, like the one we're going to talk about momentarily, which are operated by the federal government, right? By the Bureau of Prisons, operated by the DOJ. Central Appalachia already is the densest concentration of federal prisons in the United States. Okay. Some of that in Kentucky is attributable to the power of Hal Rogers, who represents the 5th Congressional District, for whom prison building has been this kind of central strategy of rural economic development, despite all evidence to the contrary, right? Rogers brought 3 prisons to 3 other counties in eastern Kentucky in the early 90s and early 2000s. Those 3 remain 3 of the poorest counties and one of the poorest congressional districts in the country. Part of what I want to offer to you are some sort of explanations for why this has happened. The way that I've come to understand it is that this growth across scales, at every scale, albeit expressed somewhat differently depending on sort of which scale you're looking at, is a response to 2 different crises, which are, of course, related to one another. The first, and maybe the most obvious one, is just the crisis of mass incarceration. The fact that we're the most, incarcerating country in the world, that we in Kentucky are particularly sort of notorious for that, at least over the last 25 years. If we were our own country, we'd have the 7th highest rate of incarceration in the world, right? We have the 2nd highest incarceration rate for women in the United States. That crisis of incarceration, the terrain of that has somewhat shifted over the last 10 years or so. And it's actually people from rural communities who are increasingly making up larger and larger numbers of our jail and prison populations. That crisis of mass incarceration is also deadly. I don't know if people look at the Herald Leader, the newspaper from Lexington, but there was a lead story a week, end of February maybe, 234 people have died in jails in Kentucky since 2020. 234, right? Like just died in jail. And that number doesn't speak to the premature deaths that happen because of incarceration, or the churn of being arrested, locked up, back out on the street, rearrested, re-locked up, right? That we know sort of shortens lives. So that's one crisis, right? That's the crisis of mass incarceration. The other crisis that is important to mention here, that in this particular crowd probably actually doesn't need that much explanation, is the crisis, the political economic crisis of the total departure, partial departure of the state from the coal fields and the decline of coal, right? So the prisons and jails are proposed as sort of purported solutions to those crises in very concrete, specific ways. I totally forgot to go through my slides. I do this every time. I'm not going to dwell on this, right? But it shows the kind of rapid decline of both employment and coal production, which both deeply impact prisons and, or I should reverse the sort of order there. Prisons and jails both respond to these crises in very specific ways, which I'll come to in just a sec. But just to give you you get it from the film, but a very sort of visceral spatial sense of this attempted resolution. These are just a few images. These 2 shots are Letcher County. I'm sorry, these 2 shots are in Roxana in Letcher County, the site intended for FCI Letcher. This is a mountaintop removal site, right? These is hundreds of acres on top of a former mountain. This is USP Big Sandy in Martin County. MTR site. Actually, this prison was built on both a deep mine and an MTR site. This is the prison where the guard tower was sinking into an abandoned mine shaft beneath it before it was even complete, which is why it's now the most expensive federal prison ever built because of site remediation costs. This is in Floyd County. This was a private prison. Now it's a Kentucky State prison. And this is the prison mostly depicted in the film. This is Wallens Ridge. So there's one way, right? At the level of kind of surplus land, one of the ways that the prison is sort of proposed as a putative resolution of crisis. 2 other very quick examples of that, and then I'll move on. One with respect to jobs, right? Coal jobs are at their lowest since the 1890s. There's 4,000 coal jobs left in Kentucky. There are 8,000 correctional officer jobs. So there's double the number, right, of prison jobs as mining jobs, even as we also have to insist that those prison jobs don't necessarily go to local people, don't provide the kind of economic development that they're purported to, and don't come close to matching the level of coal jobs or the number of coal jobs at the height of mining, right? In 1950, there were 75,000 miners in Kentucky, and we're talking about 8,000 CO jobs, right? So that's the employment piece. Finally, the last kind of point I wanted to make on this, and then I'm going to switch gears just a little bit before turning it over to Sylvia, is that the prisons and jails are also utilized to address crises of revenue decline, right? So as coal production has declined, so have the tax receipts from the coal severance tax. It's like a little wonky, but I'm sure a lot of people in this room know more about this than I do. And the prisons and jails very specifically are utilized to try and recuperate some of that lost revenue or what it went to. So jails in particular have these agreements with the Kentucky Department of Corrections and ICE to house ICE detainees and Kentucky state prisoners for per diem payments, which brings money to the county. Prisons are often utilized to like address like what we might think of as like physical and social infrastructure, right? They're utilized to like build roads and extend water lines and address wastewater treatment needs, keep hospitals open, right? Boost school enrollments, like very concrete things. That's important for us to understand analytically, but I think it's important politically as people who are probably, hopefully, sort of disturbed by this, because to try and challenge all of this, it's not just necessarily, it doesn't have to occur only in the idiom of crime and punishment, right? This is about development, you know? This is about providing water and roads and keeping schools and hospitals open, right? All of that, I think we also should understand as work against the prison industrial complex. I'm going to end on this note that this work is happening. It's happening in this moment that Sylvia's about to talk about, and this coalition we're both a part of against FCI Letcher. But to tee that up for just a second, FCI Letcher is actually just the second iteration of a prison proposed for Letcher County. It was proposed first 20 years ago as USP Letcher, which is like a slightly different name and security designation. And both of us were involved in the kind of initial iteration of a coalition to defeat that prison, which was grounded in Letcher County. It had lots of like players from around the country, environmental attorneys and activists, people in prison, the work of whom led to the eventual defeat of USP Letcher. I mean, we were working on this for like 5 years, stalling, impugning the prison. And, you know, it's a long story, obviously, but ultimately the Bureau of Prisons withdrew this thing called a record of decision, which handed us what at the time was an historic victory. A federal prison had never gotten to that point and not been built. And then it was defeated, right? That was in 2019. It felt like this big historic victory. And of course, it was fleeting, right? As we now know. But I think we're both pretty inspired by what's been happening over the last couple of years, which I think Sylvia is going to talk about now. So thank you all.
Thanks, Judah, and thanks everyone for being here. It's really special to get to share this film here at Berea College. And Judah's being very humble, but he also has an incredible new book out about this called Coal Cages Crises. Yeah, Jesse, if you want to hold it up. And that just is an amazing resource for understanding what's happening in the growth of the system and ways people are working against it. And there's some copies over there. But yeah, so it really means a lot to be here at Berea. And thank you, Chris, for bringing us both, because this work really has, I feel like, been really supported from here for a long time. And my path to making the film actually was I was a DJ for the radio show for about 5 years. And it was through that experience of answering the phones and sending out the messages that I came to know Michelle and William and Coop and everyone in the film. Those were sort of relationships that were forged over the community radio station airwaves. And when I was at Apple Shop, actually, we through the radio show, we had started organizing what we called a ride share to help families to get to prison visitation because it's impossible to get there for so many families. And a dear friend of ours in that work, Willie Dodson, actually came up to Berea and did a fundraiser for the beginning of our ride share, and he raised $2,000 from Union Church here in Berea. And that was like our first pot of money to get the rideshare started, which led to some of the scenes that you see in that film. And so the support that has come from Berea really means a lot and has supported, years of this ongoing work. So I just wanted to share that. My thanks to Union Church. I just to sort of pick up with where things are right now. So this is from the first campaign against the prison. This is Hal Rogers on the left, and members of the first coalition fighting the prison saying, this was at an innovation summit he was holding, and they were standing up and saying, prisons are not innovation. And our 44 million was the hashtag for that campaign, which meant what would happen if we would instead invest the money that's slated to go to this prison in our communities, in the things that actually work to keep us safe and that we need. So then this is Mitch Whitaker, who actually is an adjacent landowner at the prison site, who was a really important part of defeating the prison the first time because he refused to sell his land and he forced them to redraw the entire boundaries of the site map. And he basically, in his refusal, he bought us like 3 more years of organizing time. So he's a dear friend and hero of the movement. He's a falconer also. And this is him on the prison site with his falcon. So then fast forward. So there was a historic defeat in 2019. Fast forward to July 2022. And as we know, Letcher County was hit by catastrophic floods that killed 45 people and destroyed 9,000 homes across 13 counties. And then on September 28th, 2022, exactly 2 months after the floods, when everyone was still in the midst of this emergency situation and thousands of people across the region remained homeless and displaced, the federal government posted this notice of intent to prepare a draft environmental impact statement for the proposed federal correctional institution and federal prison camp in Letcher County in the Federal Register. And so this is the iteration of the prison that we're now fighting today. And I mean, for those of us that were a part of the first campaign, we just couldn't believe this, that, in the midst of this terrifying and devastating tragedy, when hundreds of people in Letcher County had just lost everything and didn't even know where they were going to sleep that night, let alone have time to think about this, that in the face of the most severe housing crisis in the history of Eastern Kentucky, Hal Rogers would again propose spending more than $500 million on human cages that no one wants or needs. Even the Bureau of Prisons itself has said that there isn't a necessity for these beds because the federal prison population is declining. And so a new coalition has since coalesced. We're called Building Community, Not Prisons. I'm wearing our coalition t-shirt here, and we have some of these to share if you're interested. But this coalition is a wonderful, amazing group of folks, both locally and nationally. It's people that live in Letcher County, that live adjacent to the proposed prison site, people who were formerly incarcerated in the prison system in Central Appalachia, national environmental and abolitionist activists, lawyers, artists, and more. And so what we're fighting for right now is, the complete rescission of these funds from the federal budget, to withdraw the allocated $500 million for this federal prison, to rescind that completely, so that the prison is not only, not built in Letcher County, but not built anywhere. Yes, that's right. And for this $500 million of our federal taxpayer dollars to be reinvested in the public goods that actually work to keep our communities safe, like quality and affordable housing, healthcare, education, public transportation, preparation for further climate disasters. These are the things that we need to invest in now. Yes. That's exactly right. And these are the things we know will keep us safe. And so I just wanted to share very briefly sort of a few scenes from the current organizing landscape. And for anyone interested in joining us, we're a growing movement and need all the help we can get. But I think this coalition has really changed the debate on the ground in Letcher County. This is a billboard that was bought by some coalition members who live in Letcher County, who have this billboard up on the main highway outside of town, no Letcher prison, which is really amazing because if you think about kind of like the amount of pro-prison propaganda and boosterism in the local press, in sort of the local elites, to sort of have these kinds of public statements against the prison is really powerful. We've also been the coalition includes many people who were incarcerated in the federal prison system in Eastern Kentucky because DC doesn't have a state prison system. People are automatically sent into the federal prison system. So were this prison to be built, people in DC are particularly vulnerable to be sent, hours away from home. And so this is a group of folks and myself and all these people were formerly incarcerated in the federal prison system in Letcher County and actually came with us, drove all the way down to Letcher County to speak at this public hearing we had. That was when they released the first, what's called the draft environmental impact statement. It opened up this 30-day public comment period. And there was one public hearing that was going to be held at the Letcher County High School, which is the only required public hearing, the only chance in this entire process to actually have the public engage in considering the proposal. And of course, they had one meeting in Letcher County. They had no meetings in any of the communities that people were going to be sent from. There was no meeting held in DC. And so these comrades from DC drove all the way down from DC to speak at this public hearing in the Letcher County High School. This is Damon Donaldson, who's a part of the coalition, who spent 27 years incarcerated in FCI McDowell, FCI Lee, and other federal facilities, speaking directly to the Federal Board of Prison. And one of the things he said here was that they're claiming that because this is a medium security federal prison, it's safer than a maximum security. And he said, I've been incarcerated in so many prisons around this region, and I can tell you not a single one was a safe or humane environment, which is what you're claiming it will be in this draft environmental impact statement. And so where we are at in the fight right now is they after our enormous efforts to submit comments of opposition, and the government went ahead and declared that they do think that this is a site that's fit for a prison. So they again issued what's called a record of decision. This was this past October. And so right now we're in a really pivotal moment in the campaign where we're sort of combating it on multiple fronts. One is we're preparing a lawsuit to sue the federal government to that this was not an adequate review process. And we hope to launch that lawsuit, to file it later this spring, probably in a couple months. We need to increase public education and combat misinformation on this prison as a proposed jobs program and the other lies that are being spread about it. We're working to increase connections with currently and formerly imprisoned people and other impacted communities that are very vulnerable to winding up in Letcher County or having family members incarcerated there, as you saw in the film. And we're demanding that the funds get rescinded from the federal government, from the federal congressional budget, which we can talk more about. But and then we're also there's a team of folks that have been working with local landowners on the site itself. And this on the right is, on the left, this red line is the boundary of the proposed 500 acres, right? Where they want to build the prison. You can see this cutaway up on the right, this right here. This is Mitch Whitaker's property, the falconer, who refused to sell his land. And this is what they had to redraw the entire site map to not include his property because he's still holding out and refusing. And then on the right, you see this blueprint, which is where they're projecting the new prison. And then this triangle right here, just last month, it was announced that a member of our coalition who directs what's called the Appalachian Rekindling Project, ARP, bought this 63 acres of land. Yeah, which is totally awesome. And you can see it makes up a central portion of the site. And this is this is at the land ceremony they had when she gained title to those 63 acres. And her name, the director, is Tiffany Payette. She's from Letcher County, and she's an enrolled member of the United Kiowa Band of the Cherokee Indians, and she's the director of the Appalachian Rekindling Project. And her vision is to instead work to reclaim this former strip mine by reintroducing native species, including buffalo, to the land. So look out for her, an Appalachian Rekindling Project. They're going to be doing amazing work. That's going to need a lot of support in the years ahead. Maybe she can come here for a dinner on the grounds. And this is I just have to share this. This is Mitch also with his falcon. Let's see, at this land ceremony. So that now Tiffany and Mitch are neighbors on the land, and he said a few words about the importance of the different, all the different species that inhabit this place, and to keep it for them as our fellow neighbors. And this is Tiffany, who now has very bravely bought this parcel of land. So the future remains open, and I think we can see this is not a done deal, and we can always keep working towards envisioning other possibilities when we work together. So I'll end there. We have a few minutes for your questions, and just thanks so much for being here.
Okay,
Here's also our website for if you are interested in the coalition.
Hello, my name is Jasmine. The last example that you were giving about sort of buying the land out from under the prison seemed like a really good connection between the economics and that. So could you talk a little bit more about was that a feasible option for all of these sites, or was that a special loophole that she was able to exploit?
Yeah, that is such an important question. And I think because of this entangled relationship between coal extraction and prison building, that often wasn't an option in these other sites, where this is a site where there were multiple parcels, where there were different private landholders. A lot of these sites was just an entire mountaintop removal site that, in a way, because the land had already been extracted from and owned by a company, then the company, in many cases, donated the land to the state or federal government, and sometimes to absolve them of certain reclamation requirements. As we know, like for mountaintop removal mining, you're required to bring the land to a certain contour prior to mining, unless you can have an equivalent kind of economic development. So a prison would actually enable the coal companies to not have to bring the land back to the prior approximate contour. So you can see how this was in the total benefit of these coal companies. And it also made that strategy really, really difficult. I also think that you need a lot of support to make something like that happen, because I think, and I don't even think from my own research that was ever something that was like a tactic people were considering before. And I think there's just a lot of consciousness raising to even sort of think about how we would do that, you know? Yeah, thanks for the question.
Thank you so much. I'm interested in the parts of the community that actually want it. And my understanding of people who work in prisons is that it's a really dehumanizing job just for the workers themselves, that there have been high suicide rates, really poor health. It's not just bad for prisoners. I mean, it's just bad. And is there work around those issues as well? And is that part of the attempt to fight it?
Yeah, that's such an important point. One of the things that Jude and I have written about also is that because of the scale that this has it's really impacted the entire kind of social environment in these communities. And one thing that's happened is also there's been increased sort of reform in the education system to try to train people, young people in the region, to take these prison jobs, and sort of increasing criminal justice degree programs that would essentially what we've called, a different kind of school to prison pipeline, right? To a school to prison pipeline to saying, this is, if you want to stay home, this is your only opportunity for employment. And I think that's just devastating to say, is this what we want our young people, the opportunity for them to have? And as you say, all those things are definitely true. There's been studies also of increases in divorce, domestic violence, drug abuse in the communities for when the workers come home. It's been really hard to bring, I think, former employees into the coalition. Of course, we would welcome that. Current employees have to sign non-disclosure agreements, and there's very much like a code of silence, But I think centering the conditions of what this work is crucial. To sort of say it's not just, we can't just say like jobs as if jobs means jobs. It's like, what are these jobs that we're talking about? What does it mean to, you are behind those bars every day too. So yeah, I think we definitely want to center that in the campaign, questioning what it means to have to work in a prison.
Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. I've been working for 2 years on a campaign to abolish slavery in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Slavery is legal in Kentucky. According to our Constitution, if you are convicted of a crime, you can be enslaved. And I think that all of this stuff that is coming up, all of these collateral kinds of problems, are because it is legal to enslave people. And so we've got slave catchers, we've got the field hands who are prison guards now. We've got people who are detained for far longer than they really need to be detained, more severe punishments than is helpful. We've got the health problems, not just for the people who are in prison, but rippling out into the families and communities. All of that is consistent with the stories of chattel slavery. So I guess my question is, how do you see that issue merging with the issue that you're working on? Because in my mind, we could be doing this together, but I can't take on yours because I'm the only one doing mine. Mm-hmm. So is there a place where we could work together, and how would you see that playing out?
Yeah, I mean, like Sylvia said, I think this is the kind of campaign and objective that just requires a lot of people, right? When you're up against the federal government, or you're up against many scales of the government. The slavery and prison kind of connection, I mean, there's obvious, as you're speaking to, like obvious kind of connections there. Lots of great historians have sort of written about that. I think the one thing I would just, I guess, sort of like caution when kind of like making those connections is like, prisons by and large are public, right? They're not private. So the profit motive is a little bit less kind of obvious. That doesn't mean they're not thoroughly about racial capitalism. They absolutely are, but they're about lots of things, right? They're also very much about the state and where the state kind of builds out its capacities. The other thing I would just say is, like, by and large, people in prison are idle, right? They're not necessarily working. And when they are working, they're working sort of for the social reproductive capacities of the prisons themselves, right? They're put to work to kind of mop floors, serve food, in some places maybe make license plates, like that kind of thing. So it's to say that, like, these issues are clearly intimately connected, and this is a different historical moment. And I think it's important to kind of pay attention to where the differences are as well. But that's an invitation to us to all of us to kind of forge those kinds of connections, Of course. Yeah. Anytime. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Hi, I'm Dr. Wendelin Ferretti, Assistant Professor of Latinx Studies here at Berea College. And I had one question and another one is not a question, is maybe just a rambling thought, but I think I need some support in this work too. So how to call this. So my one is in your article. Well, the one that was shared. You recognize the overrepresentation of Hispanic prisoners in the federal prison system, in addition to Black, and of course Black can also be Latino, but but it's sort of an artificial separation there. But wanted to know about with this work with Apple Shops, like how you might have worked to support Latino and specifically Spanish speaking inmates. Just in terms of just in questions, even in the radio, like was there ever a bilingual hour or anything like that? Just just was curious. And then on the other hand, I'm a scholar that it's nice to meet you. I might reach out to you locally. So my work has to do a lot with a different aspect. I'm a critical migration studies scholar, and so I work with a lot of in thinking about immigration enforcement and detention. And part of my work has been working with the Shut Down Etowah campaign. That was a detention center in Etowah County. In Gadsden County, Etowah, Alabama. This was one campaign where we it was a detention center within the Etowah jail, managed to shut it down, was involved in that campaign. And then now it's about to be reopened, right? You all talk about this campaign that you had, the Letcher County shut it down once, comes again, and then right now, just this weekend, we're seeing, and just these past few weeks, we're talking about, the exportation of detention and incarceration to Guantanamo, to El Salvador, and so just sort of thinking about just the heaviness of the work, that it sort of feels like a bit of a whack-a-mole. We work to shut something down and then just props up somewhere else. Thinking about space and scales, right? And then just also, how maybe you all are thinking about, the work that you're doing at an international, transnational scale, and what implications that could have. Thank you.
I might take the second part if you want to talk about the first part. Well, about the radio show.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
Just real quick about the sort of second part of the question, or the second question. One thing, so the Etowah campaign is amazing what happened there. But to sort of that question and the latter question about thinking about kind of internationalism and international solidarity. I mean, one of the things that it makes me think about is let's see, Madison County, Rockcastle, two or three in Laurel County, which is 2 counties south of here. Is that right? Laurel County just finished an 850 bed jail in 2020, which is bonkers large for a county of 55,000 people. They did that because of their relationship between the Laurel County Sheriff and ICE, and the prospect and promise of incarcerating literally hundreds of people for ICE and for the U.S. Marshals. Laurel County's incarceration rate for its own residents, now that it has this huge jail, is something like 2,000 per 100,000 people, which is approaching triple the national average. The point just being that fighting, those site fights are so important because once they're built, it's infrastructure, right? It's there and it's flexible. It can be mobilized for whoever is targeted in a given historical moment. But fighting something like a rural county jail, in my mind, particularly when it's invoking ICE, is itself an internationalist fight, right? And that's a way to be in places like Berea or London or whatever and be engaged in that kind of work in very kind of concrete ways. Just as an aside, the sheriff is now bragging that the money that the jail is essentially pays for itself through those intergovernmental service agreements with ICE and with the Kentucky DOC. That happened. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that it's moving that money to fund COLA raises for county, cost of living raises for county employees. So it's really insidious. It's always about kind of responding to various very real crises. And I think our job is to intervene in sort of how those crises are narrated and addressed.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how much work there is to be done. I mean, I think in terms of Spanish language programming, we would sometimes get shout outs from family members that would, I mean, well, in many languages, in Russian and Spanish and I don't know. I'm trying to think of other calls I would get, but the show, the 8 prisons that currently reach the show, is the 2 super maximum prisons in Virginia. We know that the state prison population is over 50% Black, but you know that the higher security level, the higher that percentage is, because Black people are more harshly sentenced and sentenced much longer. So in those prisons, they were likely like 80% Black. So it was predominantly Black families that were calling the radio show. And you see that in the van too. I mean, I think there's enormous possibility for other similar programs to exist around the country, because, you know, Judah's talking about infrastructure. Like, radio is also an infrastructure we have that we need to use towards these purposes, right? And so this is an infrastructure that's already there, and it'll take independent community college radio stations creating programs like this that, you know, if there were a station that reached that Laurel County jail, like, it would have to be in Spanish. And I've done some Spanish language programming actually to reach detention centers in New Jersey. But I think the most important thing is actually figuring out how to build a relationship with the people inside, and then figuring out like who they are, when they can listen, what they need, how they'll hear it best. So I think just really beginning it through connecting with the folks inside that institution and learning who they are. Yeah.
I'm going to ask for that. We're talking, yes, Sam. So we're at the end of time, but I encourage people to stay. But I'm not going to applaud yet. No applause yet. Please introduce folks to what's over here.
Yes, we have some great things over here. So we are selling T-shirts to support the coalition. This is our friend Emily Hilliard, who's going to help with our T-shirt sales. So these go directly, 100% goes to supporting the coalition. We're asking for a $25 donation for T-shirts. We also have an official artwork poster of the film. We're asking for a $15 donation, and those donations are going to go to support men that are currently protesting at Red Onion State Prison. It's a intense situation right there. Several men in protest of the inhumane conditions there set themselves on fire and are demanding attention. So all funds from the poster will go to support the men at Red Onion. And so these are these QR codes. To find out more about the coalition, go here and check out. Judah has a couple copies of his incredible book over there, and maybe if you get one tonight, he'll sign it for you. And so, yeah, we'll hang around. Thank you so much. It was really great to be here.
And speaking of QR codes, here they are. Lainey, my faithful staff member here, will have these. They're also over here. And if you scan those, please tell us what you learned from tonight so we can help more programming happen like this here in the Appalachian Center. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Appalachian Center.
QR code.